Hi, for those of you who do not know me, I'm Renee, also known as Miss HG Mercury from the Sunshine Coast Pinup School. I'm a vintage stylist and a pinup photographer, and today I'm going to be having a little chat about my opinions on fast fashion and if and when it is acceptable to use and buy from within pinup and vintage styling. So let's go. So this is more of an opinion piece, I guess you could say, on my views on fast fashion. I am being honest on what fast fashion is in my wardrobe, like this as well, when it is acceptable within pinup and vintage styling and building your wardrobe to use fast fashion. Yeah, hopefully I don't get too many negative comments. Listen to my opinions, listen to my lessons learned, and there are pros and cons within the sphere of using fast fashion in pinup and vintage styling. So first of all, what is fast fashion? My interpretation of fast fashion is fashion that is mass produced, fast. Lots of items and clothing is produced per season to a lesser quality, cheaper quality. Things are sold cheaper to keep up with the ever rotating trends within the modern fashion industry. Styles and trends will change so quickly within modern fashion that these sweatshops and will have less than ideal labor and health and safety because they need to churn out so much of volume of new clothes. Things aren't made to the highest quality. They're not made with the best quality materials because they need to literally just keep pumping out everything, filling the shops, taking down last season, selling it off cheap, getting the next season up. And it's become part of a cycle within modern fashion to just keep up with the trends, buy lots of stuff, wear it once, donate it, chuck it out because it's out of season, and keep going again. Now, before I got into pinup and vintage styling, I was a slave to it. I grew up in it. I went to uni next to a shopping center, had to walk through the shopping center to get to my bus to go to uni. And I would look at all these styles and I would love them. And the reason why I got into pinup and vintage fashion, the thing that got me over the edge of trying it, is I would try on all these styles and nothing would fit me. Nothing would suit me. I wouldn't feel the way I wanted to feel in fashion. I felt fat, ugly, my boobs are too big, I've got too many curves, I'm not like those mannequins. And that was how that very fast-paced fashion world made me feel inside, which is not good. And I can see in a lot of young girls growing up now within that fast fashion environment that they have to just keep buying, get what's new, and they're not developing their own sense of style other than a style than what advertising, influencers, what they are telling them they should wear. And then they tell them that that's out of fashion, and then 2 months later you need to buy something completely different. So that is my overview on my understanding of fast fashion. It has had a lot of discussion within media lately. Everyone's a lot more aware of the environmental impacts of it. But there is a place for some fast fashion within pinup and vintage styling. Now, stay around, hear me out. If you curate your wardrobe, I have an online course on how to do it. It's completely free, or you can pay the $2 to say, thanks Renee for making this. It's completely free. Within that workbook, I actually want everyone to do it. Everybody should do this bloody course that I put so much effort into because I want you to feel so good about yourself and your clothing and your wardrobe. But you will have a workbook that you go through in this course. And at the end, you will know exactly the style that you want to dress in, what you're comfortable in, what your body loves, what suits the lifestyle categories that you have within your life, work, play, anything like that, you will be able to identify pieces that will work for you for many years to come. Now, do those pieces need to be designer, high-end investment pieces? Well, they can, but you shouldn't be sending yourself broke. You can find, when you have fine-tuned your style, what you like, you are actually going to be able to find these things within a modern shopping center, within fast fashion stores, within like what I call cheap shit stores, where you can pick up, you know, something for $5, $10. The good positive about pinup and vintage styling, creating your own unique style that you know will work with you and grow with you as you know, mature and grow up and have different seasons within your life. Those pieces that you may buy from a fast fashion outlet, department store, whatever, will break that cycle. You won't be buying it because, you know, advertising has told you to buy it and it's in season and you need to have it now because all the other girls are wearing it. You won't buy it because it's so cheap and, you know, it's, you know, well, it's just $5, so who cares? I'll just buy it. And then you want that instant validation of shopping. I'm just going to buy this top for $5. It doesn't matter if it sits in my drawer and never gets worn. I just donate it at another time, which, you know, a scary percentage of things still end up in landfill after they get donated. You will be buying a piece that will fit into your wardrobe, fit into your style. Does not matter the price tag of it, as long as you cherish that piece of clothing and you get your wear out of it. Now, I have been very privileged to work with local designers. Where I am in Southeast Queensland has a melting pot of local pinup and vintage inspired fashion designers. And I have been so lucky in my career and within the Sunshine Coast Pinup School to work directly with these designers. I have been able to see their manufacturing processes, whether in Vietnam or Indonesia. I've been able to see their ethics, their, you know, design process, see them literally sewing up some of their pieces, know exactly what the quantity is when they make things. And I know I have been very, very lucky in that. And that I have in the past been able to go to a shop and buy a dress, try it on, buy a dress. It's vintage inspired, it's made from a vintage pattern. It's, you know, I know the designer, I know the thought they put into it. But I know that's not everybody's luxury. I know I'm very privileged in that and where I live in my community. And I know that in lots of places, not just in Australia, all over the world, there are no brick and mortar pinup and vintage inspired shops. Not anymore. Maybe, like, definitely, you know, on the Sunshine Coast, there was so many more 5-10 years ago. COVID killed a lot of businesses and everybody went online. But I know that you don't have that luxury. You have, you know, your department stores in Australia. We've got Kmart, Target, Big W. I know in like other countries you've got Walmart and I don't know any others. And then you have shopping centers full of clothing stores filled to the brim with clothes that are within a budget, within what you can afford. You know, in Australia, off the top of my head, we have, I don't know if Tempt is still around, but I used to buy a lot of, I'm about to confess to how much I bought from fast fashion within pinup and vintage styling. So stay tuned. You've got Tempt, you've got Ali, you've got your Supre, Cotton On, all of those, Factory as well, all of those shops that have part of that fast fashion slave drive with their stock rotation. So when you have an idea in your head, you know exactly what you want. So say, for example, this top I got from Tempt about 10 years ago. And it is well, instantly I know what styles, rockabilly style was, what I was going for at the time. So the print, the animal print stood out to me. It's collared, it is sleeveless, and it has it's cropped, and it has a tie in the front, buttoned up, complete epitome of vintage rockabilly style in a cheap fast fashion shop, and I think I paid $10 for it 10 years ago. Why did I buy it? Because I knew that was exactly what I needed. I knew that that would fit into my wardrobe, and this top has been on my regular rotation. I wear it about once a week, if not every 2 weeks. I wear this top all the time. I have had to stitch in this facing because it's popped loose. I think probably about 5 years I had to do that. 5 years ago I had to do that, but it has stood the test of time because I've looked after it. Any little bits, I remember I did have one thread fall out here. I am, lucky I know how to sew, and I was able to repair it. So it comes with that vintage attitude of make do and mend and repair. As soon as something went wrong with it, I didn't chuck it out because I knew it would be so hard to find another top like this. And I knew how much I loved it. It's a lightweight thing as well. It's really good for summer. It's like summer rotation all the time. Even in autumn and winter, I just put a cardigan over it. But I knew when I bought this, I was going to break that cycle of fast fashion. Now, when you are learning a style, when you are finding your feet within the pinup and vintage style and finding your own unique interpretation of your unique style, you shouldn't break the bank in your experimental phase. I highly suggest you go op shopping, thrift shopping, whatever you call it in your country, and identify pieces that you will be able to try out. And then you're not investing so much money into something. The positive of pinup and vintage is that we have a lot of buy, swap, sell pages. Some things are maintain their value that you can on sell. If you buy something, wear it for a few years and your fashion sense changes, you may be able to sell that to somebody else who really wanted that dress, for example, but couldn't afford the full price, and they are on their mission to try to find and fill up their wardrobe. You are passing that on to the next person. So I feel like that is the way that the vintage and pinup community operate, and that is how we are breaking the fast fashion trend. Now, when I first got into pinup and vintage online, if you just search pinup clothing, Pinup Girl clothing came into it. Now, that was a fairly exy brand in the US where you were looking at up to $200 for a dress, about $100 and something for a skirt. Now, and with this style too, I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to wear. I wasn't sure what was going to suit me. I was very lucky that I did have a pinup specific shop within Brisbane that stocked that brand, and I was able to try on some things and purchase direct from them. But if you don't have the luxury of that, buying from online can be quite scary. I always find it scary. You never know if it's gonna fit. You do have the advantage of being able to on-sell it on buy, swap, sell pages, eBay, etc. But do not shame yourself if you purchase fast fashion, as long as you are doing it intentionally. Now, where does fast fashion come into play? Whoa, knocking things over. Where does it come into play with pinup and vintage? I know I've been in the industry and stuff for a few years, so I can zoom, as soon as I'm in a shop, zoom, I find the vintage inspired pieces. Fashion is cyclical. Everything goes around. You can get lots of vintage 1980s dresses that does 1940s, 50s. 90s were brought back the 1930s style, and now you can find lots of high-waisted things in shops, which is amazing, but you can buy basics from your fast fashion shops. So, you know, basic t-shirts, basic singlets, and I don't know if anyone else is like this, but we wear these until they are literally threadbare. And then if you buy a cotton shirt, which these are from Big W in Australia, they are made from 100% cotton. And then once they are unwearable, they end up going into the shed. And my husband will use them when he's, you know, working on his cars and stuff like that. So without it being going straight into the trash, these aren't a huge investment, but they will be basics that you can get. You don't need to go spend $100 on a t-shirt. I'm gonna pop some tags. And then you're gonna be able to recognize vintage styling once you've done your research, once you know what you are looking for. Now, where do you think these are from? They're from Target. And this one I actually got in a vintage, like a retro, in the retro wardrobe in Newcastle, in New South Wales. And this one I got on a buy swap sell page. Now they have stretch to them. I know that's what I like in my skirts. I like to have a little bit of stretch in my waistband. They're gingham, like, come on, complete pin-up and vintage, super comfy. My only beef is there's no pockets, of course. But that is breaking the cycle of fast fashion. These will literally stay in fashion for me forever. And I've had this joke with my husband that if it wasn't for me getting into pin-up and vintage about 10 years ago, we would have spent so much on clothing for me, because I would have been trying to keep up with the Joneses and try to keep up with the styles and fashions without knowing myself. And, you know, I've got stuff I've worn and for so many years. For example, this is from a Target as well. Do you know how many events and 1940s and, you know, aviation things I've worn this to? Like, oh, I remember paying $15 for this, and it is the warmest thing I have ever worn, and I always get compliments about it. And it was just from a department store, because I knew the styling that I was after. What else do we have? Oh, so with the current trends of high-waisted, you can see how much I've worn these. These are from Cotton On, and they are just generic high-waisted shorts. Rockabilly staple. I do not like how I'm probably gonna have to tack these into place, because I hate ironing them flipping down all the time. But super comfy, high-waisted shorts. Perfect for vintage styling. You can just get them in most places these days, and you just dress it up. Like in this outfit, instant rockabilly. And we've got, you know, these are sort of a 1940s inspired culotte, almost high-waisted shorts with pockets, and I have worn these to death. I don't know if you can see, they're starting to pill, and I will have to, you know, shave the fabric a little bit. But, you know, they are just a staple in my wardrobe. When you are searching for your staples, you are going to build a wardrobe that is going to serve you a lot better, and you will feel more confident building that wardrobe of staples from something that's not breaking the bank. Invest in things that need to be invested in, but give yourself a little bit of slack. Don't beat yourself up. Know that if you are going to purchase something, you are going to use it. You are going to wear it. It's not going to sit there and never get used again. Speaking of that, when you are experimenting, you can find things cheaper than what you can anywhere else. These are petticoats that I got from eBay many years ago, and they go underneath skirts. I'm not too much of a petticoat wearer anymore. I don't really like to take up that much physical room, but I'm not too much of a petticoat wearer anymore. But you can try out styles. These are still really handy. They go into the studio wardrobe and get used on like every single client that has a photo shoot here. But you are going to be able to find your style. Oh my gosh, I feel like I am rambling. When you purchase from fast fashion to build up your pinup and vintage wardrobe, be intentional. Know what you're going to wear. Know what colors will suit you. Know what you will get the most mileage out of. Then you will be able to build a wardrobe that you will love. You do not need to build a wardrobe full of authentic vintage pieces or high-end designer pieces that you are going to be too scared to wear. And that is the bloody honest truth. I am too scared to wear some of my vintage. I am too scared to wear some of my designer one-offs as well. And that's just taking up room in my wardrobe when I'm more likely to grab this and, you know, I spill everything. I can't wear white without spilling on it. All of my tops end up with little stains here, but you can purchase from fast fashion without contributing to that cycle of doom within fast fashion. So that is my 2 cents. And leave me a comment below. Let's have an open discussion about it. I believe that these things need to be talked about. Do I want to say there's some shame within pinup and vintage? I'm gonna say it. I'm sorry. Sometimes within some niche parts within pinup and vintage, there is some shame placed on people when they're starting out or beginners, and that's where, you know, not feeling pinup perfect enough can come into it. And you can take away from the fun of it. It's part of experimenting, it's part of finding your style, and you can do it without breaking the bank. Invest intentionally into pieces that you know are going to work for the long run. Op shop, vintage, op shop, thrift, laser beam your site in those fast fashion shops and find what's going to work for you. Investigate your style, do the online course, just bloody do it. Like, it's helped so many people and I'm so proud of how it has helped people. But find your style, curate your wardrobe, and don't feel shame if it's got pieces in it that are from fast fashion, as long as you are comfortable within yourself that you are going to use it, you are going to love it, and you will repair it, whatever it is, until it's at its very end of its life, and then you have created your perfect wardrobe. Okay, I'm sorry. This is a topic I had to get out there. And please subscribe to the channel. If I haven't put you off because I'm too brutally honest, sorry. But please subscribe to the channel. I upload every Friday. I talk about a whole bunch of things. I do hair tutorials, makeup tutorials, talk about shit like this. But yeah, subscribe to the channel. Follow on social media, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all of that. Most active on Instagram. And I will see you next week for another video. Bye.